These are the stories of Careblazers, the stories of husbands, wives, sons, and daughters whose world is forever changed since caring for their loved one with dementia. You'll hear stories of heartbreak, you'll hear stories of love. These stories are real, raw, and powerful. I hope these stories show you you're not alone, and I hope they give you some inspiration and help as you go through your caregiving journey.
Jan, thank you so much for being here today to talk to all of the Careblazers out there. Can you introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about who you're caring for?
Yes, my name is Jan, and my wife Terry was in high school with me and lived in my neighborhood. We used to play baseball in the vacant lot, and she had a crush on me, but I didn't know about it until 40 years later when we got together on the internet, and then we happened to get together at that time, and then we've been married for 15 years. And we grew up in Southern California at the beach, and her family moved up here to Washington, Southwest Washington State. And so when I retired, I had an office in San Francisco, an architect firm. And so when it looked like I might be able to retire, we moved up here to be near her family. And she is a terrific person. She's just very down to earth and very good at being a wife. She was married to a guy for 40 years who cheated on her chronically. And she finally divorced him and bought a house up in this area. And that's when I came into the picture.
That's a long crush for her to have, 40 years.
Well, I don't think she sustained it for the entire 40 years, but when we were in high school, we went to high school together, and she changed bus stops so she could hang out. I'm just very shy, so she never told me about this, had my picture in her little diary and so on. I'm learning. So at any rate, boy, I was in a very bad marriage at the time in San Francisco. A woman who had apparently had bad depression. She ended up committing suicide when I divorced her, which was kind of harsh.
Awful, yeah.
And so at any rate, I was ready to go home, kind of, because of course this person had the same general cultural background that I did growing up in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved up here. We bought this old church that had been abandoned for many years, and instead of being an architect, I became a carpenter and a plumber and an electrician and a landscaper, and to do all these physical things that were necessary so that we could actually live here. And it's still going on, but of course I don't have the time to do much of that anymore right now.
Because you became a Careblazer.
Yes, and my impending mortality also. I'm 76 years old. We're both 76 and can't do the things I used to do. I can't climb up 2 stories and do the gutters without fear of falling off.
Yeah.
So
so tell us, when did Jan get diagnosed with dementia?
I'm Jan. She's Terry.
I'm sorry, Jan. Yeah.
That's all right.
Sorry, Jan.
Happens all the time. It's been about 5 or 6 years, I suppose. Though her family, there's family that lives around here. She has 2 sisters who have a horse ranch just a few miles from us. And they seemed to know that something wasn't quite right with her before I did. But at any rate, she was starting to not make sense and not being able to understand things that she used to be able to understand. So we went to the doctor and she got the MOCA test, and she said she had minor cognitive uh, problems, and took all blood tests and MRI and all those things just to eliminate everything else. And she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So, so we got pills, and we've been seeing from time to time, although it's been a while, a real life geriatric psychiatrist who specializes in Alzheimer's. And he's essentially just a pharmacist for us, I guess. He doesn't do much. But then, and things changed for me considerably, because I've always had a wife and who did wife things, and I did husband things. And in high school, the guys didn't take home economics, we did wood shop. So now I do not have a wife. It's like having a child, even a spoiled child. And so I've had to develop routines and learn what kind of bed sheets to buy and laundry detergent, and do all shopping and cooking and all these things. And this is a big building. It's 3,200 square feet. It's the dog. I have 2 dogs and 2 cats, and they're all spoiled. And
So
take
you're
up
doing a
all
lot
my
now.
time.
Yeah, you're doing
I'm
a lot you
doing
never really
everything.
had to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I had it good before. I didn't realize it. But now things are tough. But I'm a survivor. I'm an adult child of alcoholic parents, and all my uncles and aunts were all alcoholics, and I was an alcoholic. I was a musician for many years, and I sobered up in 1985 and became an architect. And
Wow.
but you learn to be a survivor when your whole family is so radically dysfunctional that and I had 2 little sisters that would cling to me when they'd get in fights and go crazy. And so that's helped me be a survivor now.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be a lot of grief, but for now, I'm doing okay. I'm doing pretty well. Did you read
Yeah.
that Eckhart Tolle book, the New Earth book that
A
you
New
were
Earth.
flashing?
I have. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm reading that. I went back and read The Power of Now also, which was kind of a not such an easy read.
It's not. I didn't make it through that one, to
Well,
be honest.
he could have said everything he needed to say in one chapter, I think, because
Yeah.
it seemed like he just kept saying the same thing
A
over
New
and over.
Earth is worth the read, the full read.
Yeah, I'm about halfway through that one, and
Yeah.
but it just changed me. I mean, I really it really has sunk in that this is the time. This is my time I have with her, and it's not the time I would have chosen for myself, but it's working, and it's tricky. So
Yeah.
it's a
Talk
lumen,
to
as I
yeah. Talk to us about like what are some of the biggest challenges or the trickiest things that you're dealing with now?
Oh boy. Well, it takes time to get her to do things that she needs to do. Um, I generally have the philosophy that she can do whatever she wants to do as long as she doesn't hurt herself. Um, but the things that she needs to do, like take her medications and eat food and get dressed and those kinds of things, it takes time to figure out how to get her to do them. And I am able to do it, but it's a little different every time. So it's hard to get the patterns going. That's a very difficult thing. If I have to go someplace, I have no help. Uh, and through this COVID business with 14 months, since we're both 76 years old and presumably very vulnerable to catching the disease and passing away, I have kept us from any kind of human proximity at all. I mean, I order groceries online and take my pickup truck down. We live up in the hills here, in a very rural woodsy area, and I have to drive 8 or 10 miles to get to a market. So to getting her into the car, dressed, and she stops at the door threshold and says, "Oh, I have to comb my hair, I have to put my makeup on." Now, she hasn't done that in 2 years, but she needs a purse. She has to make sure the cats are okay, and so on and so forth. It's a process that is that I've had to adapt to and go from tolerating to finding it kind of funny, after a
Yeah,
while.
I imagine it takes a lot of patience, is what it sounds like on your part.
Patience is good.
Yeah.
So and then when I get to the market, she drifts, so I have to take her cart in one hand and her hand in the other hand, and she's very gregarious. She wants to go talk to people. It doesn't make much sense anymore, but it's difficult. And I get to the cashier, and there's numerous things in the cart that I didn't put in there, although I buy them anyway because she wants them. And that's a tough part. The toughest part for me has been during this COVID, that I had absolutely no help. Prior to that time, I had asked her sisters to take her a day or two a week, and they did, and they fed her and so on, and I could have some me time and get some things done that otherwise I couldn't. I mean, if I go out in the yard to do something, she'll lock the door and doesn't know how to unlock it again. So I've made keys, of course, that I carry. I have my toothbrush over here. I have all the things I need to get around. I've locked everything in the guest room. All the medications are in the gun safe. And in order to do anything, it's become exponentially difficult just for normal things that a person would that would be easy. I mean,
Speak to that. Speak to like why you have a toothbrush on you and why you're carrying a lot of these things.
Because she's a rummager, and I think it's because she was a very good wife and very active, and all the things that I'm learning to do is things she already knew how to do, or the places where things are kept, she set that up during the first part of our marriage, and from all her experience of being married before for decades, we knew which drawers. She decided which drawers the utensils go in, and so on. And so everything has its place, and when I took over, that made my life easy. But she takes everything out of its place and puts it somewhere else. So, and she's lightning fast. I mean, I turn my back, I go to the bathroom. When I come out, everything I've set up to fix the meal is gone. So it's comical, but it's can lead to some frustrations. She when I take my clothes off at night and put them on a valet there, and I wake up in the morning and my wallet is missing, and there'd be my credit cards would be wrapped up in something with a rubber band or moved to. It's everything you might imagine that could be just bizarre and difficult to put back together. So I put my clothes in the guest room. I put a lock on the door there I installed, and put her medications in the gun safe, and everything is in there. And if, whatever I have to do, like this morning, my routine, I have to, the animals, caring for 4 animals is not easy, but either. I want you to know I've spent more than $10,000 in veterinary bills over the last year for various
Wow.
serious problems, but they need pills and so on. So they have to be secure. I go in the morning and get into the guest room, get their pills, and I have to give them some food to take with their pills and put it in a little pieces of hot dog and that sort of thing, and feed the cats. And I'll have to do this quietly because she's asleep and I don't want to wake her up. So, so it's very, but I'm really good at it now. So that's a good
It sounds like you've had a lot of practice.
yeah, over these last couple of years. And
Yeah.
then the other problem is that her personality has changed. She's always a very humble person, make do. She didn't come from a wealthy family. There were church people, and made do, saved things rather than throw them away and so on. And now she's just spoiled and won't eat this or that. She give her some potato chips and she won't eat the ones with the little black spots on them, and she thinks there's bugs and things like that. So and also because of her inability to understand any kind of explanations, or you can't just tell her no, that's not correct. You don't have bugs in your potato chips or whatever. She can't process that. And I also
Yeah.
think she's had a lot of hearing loss. It's hard for me to tell whether it's that or she just has trouble processing words now. I think it might be a combination of the two.
Yeah.
But our communication has deteriorated considerably, and it's hard to um, get her to do the things that she needs to do. And as
Yeah.
um, so here I am doing all the cooking, shopping, and caring for the house and the animals and all this sort of thing. And the she won't take a shower, so I figured that out. I went online and bought some very beautiful color coordinated towels and bath mats and a shower curtain, and I made our bathroom into a veritable palace. So then she took a shower. I mean, it worked. I was so happy. I thought, it must be a genius. And but it did work, and that's a very recent event. But
That's
that's been
great. So
amazing.
do you have to help her with the shower, or is she
Oh
able to
yes.
shower herself? Okay.
No, she's administratively gone. She can't. She doesn't know. That was the beginning of it. Okay, this one I put a rubber band around the shampoo bottle so she knows that that's that, and the conditioner and the
Hmm.
body wash. So, we have them in different places, and she was okay with that for a couple of months, and then it didn't happen anymore. So now I just get in there and give her a shower at this point. She doesn't seem to be upset about that, but she just doesn't want to initiate it. But it's tough. Everything that we do, I have to work around the difficulties, uh, and I don't think it's going to get any easier. um, but she does smile. She laughs. She loves to be hugged, and she likes to be kissed on her forehead and told she's cute. And those are the fallback positions that when things are looking a little difficult, that always gets her to smile and appear to be happy.
That's great.
One reason that I am still sane is that she does sleep. She sleeps until late morning, and um, I've read that's not a good idea, but I don't care because I do get my me time, and I could come up here in the shop and smoke my pipe and surf the net and read my book and
Yeah.
other activities that I have to keep me alive.
Yeah.
So that's a blessing for me.
Yeah.
And so um, she's a
If
very
I
wonderful person. Go ahead.
Yeah. If I can ask, since the bathing was like the initiation of bathing and showering is a challenge, how do you broach the subject when it's like time or it's the day for her to bathe or shower? What do you say to her?
Well, I've tried telling her her hair is dirty and she needs to wash it. It doesn't look good, and or you don't want to smell bad, do you? And of course, she's lost her sense of smell, but
Mhm.
and she doesn't smell bad. I just working on some
Sure.
tactics. I I'd say I'm going to take a shower. Come on, let's take a shower together. That sometimes would work. Um, but primarily the things that work the best is, for instance, today, her sister called me yesterday and said, would you like to bring Terry over to the ranch? They call it the ranch. It's a little double wide trailer they live in over on a 7-acre property here. They have horses. Would you, and they watch on Sunday, they watch the sermons on television. They're
Mhm.
Christians. And we used to all watch it together before things went crazy. So would you like to bring her over and we'll spend the day and we'll feed her and so on and bring her back? And I said, God bless you. Yes, I would like to do that. So in situations like that, I can say, well, you're going to see your sister, so let's get you into the shower. And then it's a little easier. She argues a little, or why, or who said that, and things like that. So, but that works the best of anything. If we have to go somewhere, meet somebody, which we don't anymore, but in the past, that has been the best strategy.
Yeah. I could tell you've done a lot of detective work and just trying different approaches, trying different tactics. They work for a while, then you have to change it, but you're constantly adapting and being flexible.
Yeah, well, I'm here and I got to make it work. So we figure out ways.
Yeah. So how are you coping? Like over the past 14 months, like you said, I mean, it was already challenging before COVID. Then COVID hits and a lot of the care and help that you would get really went away. Um, what do you do to just kind of stay in a good headspace and make sure you're also caring for yourself?
Well, I've always had a lot of interests. I was a musician, and so I have that, and I collect. Um, I have a huge collection of old jazz recordings on 78 RPM discs, like they used to do, and I have a I'm very interested in chess. I've always been interested in that, and I have a big collection of old and rare chess books and things like that. And I build huge model airplanes, radio controlled model airplanes.
Mm.
From time to time, since I've been retired, I've had architectural projects that from buildings that I worked on in San Francisco when I had my office there that have had to have some work done still. So from here, with the technology now, I can still do that, although it's been a little while, but I did quite a bit recently here a few years back. What else keeps me sane? Well, I read. I just love to read all the time. I've got thousands of books. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. But I would say the internet is just a miraculous thing for those of us who grew up during a time when you had to go to the library or call somebody to find out how big is Idaho, but now, pow, I mean, whatever you want to know, there it is. And YouTube is just a miracle. It's incredible at the knowledge, and I feel like a sponge. So I'll sit here and read about fake Van Goghs and thing. And it's marvelous. I love life. I love to be alive, and all this knowledge, I just like to suck it up. And eBay is like a window into the past. The things, antique things that you can see there, and the history behind them. And also, I'm interested in genealogy. I put together this massive line going all the way back to Europe of all my ancestors, and that's very time consuming and so on.
Yeah. So you stay curious, you have hobbies, you do things you're interested in.
I am a many faceted caregiver, except that now I don't have time to do all that stuff, but I have time to do some of it because of this morning time. I get up at 5 or 6 and she gets up at 11. So I have this time, see, and I can.
It's your time.
Yeah. But
that's great.
The COVID thing was a killer, and I'll tell you, not being able to. And in the beginning, it was so scary. Go to the market, and in the parking lot, they'd bring out the groceries and put them in the back of my truck. And then when I come home, I'd spray everything with chlorine bleach solution. And that's in addition to deciding what to buy and deciding how to cook it and so on, that I had not done too much of before. And
it sounds like you bring your wife with you when you leave the home. She's no longer safe to be home alone.
Oh yeah. I don't leave her home anymore. It's been a couple of years now. I don't think she would get into much trouble, except that if something caught on fire or something, she wouldn't know how to do. Right. She wouldn't know where to go. I mean, this is a very rural place. There's it's woodsy and foothills. We're right under the Mount St. Helens volcano here, up in the woods.
So I know you mentioned she's pretty, like, physically she can move around and stuff. Have you had to face any challenges with her trying to leave the home or wandering?
She doesn't wander.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah, she's always been healthy as a horse. She's at the moment she weighs 90 pounds. Wow. So our family doctor said, well, that's the way it is. You got to pick your battles. I try and feed her foods that make her put her weight back on, but it's a battle.
So at this point, because you brought up the family doctor and then you mentioned the geriatric psychiatrist, what kinds of doctors does your wife go to for dementia care, if she still goes to anybody at all?
We haven't been to a doctor in quite a while, but she was diagnosed by our family doctor, and it was those years ago. And then we had a few periodic visits, and then she shuttled us off to this psychiatrist who's over in Portland, so it's a bit of a drive to get down there. And we met with him once.
What was the reasoning for a psychiatry referral? Do you know?
I don't remember. I don't know that there was any precipitating stress that made that happen. She was, maybe it's because she was getting paranoid and put blankets up over the windows and did that sort of thing. And maybe that's when we got shuttled off, as you say. But he talked with me separately and her separately. And then came the pills, so we have pills. and they checked in once a month or so on the telephone. How is she doing? Describe, And then when I needed to figure out how to deal with the bank accounts, I asked him to write a letter so I could get power of attorney over the account that she has. And he said, well, I'll do that if you do go online with me on the, like we are doing, kind of.
Oh, okay.
And we did, and he said, yeah, I'll write you a letter, no problem. So
he wanted to see her and talk to her.
He had to assess, and he obviously assessed her as being incapable of doing those things. So
that's great that he did that, though.
I think so too. It's responsible of him.
Yes.
So now this week, or maybe next week, we have an online video conference with someone from our family practitioner's office. She's going to email me and tell me how to do it. One for me and one for her. Well, of course, I'm going to have to do hers with her because she can't communicate.
Right. At any point in the last 5 or 6 years since your wife had this diagnosis, did anybody check in with you to see how you're doing, offer you support, kind of give you resources for caring for your wife?
We have Kaiser coverage, and our practitioner referred me to a social worker
Awesome.
who was in charge of resources, and she gave me about 6 pounds of brochures and things on how to get help to come into the house, and various logistical things that would possibly make my time easier, and those sort of things. And then I started having some issues, and they're not new to me. I've had a very stressful career, and so I had stomach issues, and my heart would do some fluttering and so on. And so my doctor referred me to a clinical psychologist, and I had some sessions with her a few times, and she was extremely helpful to me. And I had been taking some medication at that time, and I managed to get off of those just by reading a couple of books that she suggested. And I think one of them might have been that happiness myth book. Are you familiar with that book?
The happiness.
Happiness.
Is it called The Myth or
Myth.
The Happiness Project?
I think so.
I don't know. I'm not familiar. But it's great. It sounds like it was super helpful for you.
yeah, it was good. And so I've been pretty good about that. And um, those that was the help that I got. And then there is a group here down in the town, um, which is, I guess, 12 miles away from here, uh, called Hope. You may be familiar with those people, maybe not.
Mm-mm.
We have a group out here called Hope, and it's kind of it's kind of around, at least out in this area. It's a support group for dementia caregivers. And so I went to that and on Monday
So when
night.
you would go to that, would your wife's sisters watch your wife, or was
Yes,
it? Okay.
I would drop her off and they would watch her, and then I would go down. It was on the Monday evenings for a couple hours. And that lasted about a year. But there were maybe a dozen
Hmm.
ladies in there. I was the only male there. And they all seemed to know each other, so they could do all their gossiping prior to getting down to business and so on. And I didn't really feel, I mean, I got in there and asked my questions and found
Hmm.
out I did learn a lot about the medications and some things, what to expect, later stages. And I learned some things, but essentially it was not really a super positive experience for me. Um, it felt more like a coffee clutch or a quilting bee for the ladies who'd already been doing it for a long time.
Mm.
So, so it wasn't that helpful, but um, then, I think the most help I've gotten is YouTube and your videos, and Tipa Snow is
Yeah.
helpful for me. She's a character. Um, uh, so, the information is there if I want it, and I
Yeah.
do. And the books I read, and then I have this lab here. I got a hands-on caregiving learning experience right here.
Right.
So I'm doing okay. I don't feel desperate or anything.
Yeah.
I am, as I said, and maybe in one of my questions to you, I'm not looking forward to the next stages. She still knows me.
Hmm.
Um, she is going to be incontinent. She's going to, like you said, her head, not hold her head up and all this kind of thing. Um, um, that's going to be tough. And I have some stress about that, but I think that's when you recommended these Power of Now books to me. But
Yes.
I,
Because
I'm trying.
living in the future, which is not here, and like thinking of the worst case can bring on so much anxiety. And it's nice to be prepared and just know, what could I do? What services are available? But what can you do right now? Um,
That's it. Yeah,
mhm.
what can you do right now? So I have researched the products and for the incontinence stage, and um, uh, the doctor has told me when the time comes, she has a recommendation for a hospice.
Yeah.
And uh, I'm just gonna, we don't have a great deal of money, so I can't put her into one of these $8,000 a month
Right.
places right now. And if I do, it'd be sort of like, will the money run out before
Right.
she does? It's
Right.
very tricky. But I did research a lot of places around here to just check out what it would be
Hmm.
like. Um, and um, uh, essentially, I'm not sure I'd feel like I uh, that right now things are okay. So what happens in the future is going to happen. Obviously, as you say, I've got no control over that. I can just try and be prepared for options,
Mm-hmm.
and we shall see. Uh, but
Yeah.
she's a different person now, so I don't feel like, I'm grieving the person she used to be, and that's going to be diminishing. And now she's a new person that might be a little easier to grieve for because I don't, I haven't really known her all this time.
Wow.
So I will just take care of her the best I can. I mean, she's still in there. She's
Yeah.
still in that body. And if it were me, gosh, I don't know how I would feel, but I guess if my brain were just not working properly, it might not be an issue. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, thank you for what you're doing for your wife. It's a lot. And I know it kind of, you've had to learn so much about a new role, at this late stage in your life, just in terms of caregiving and cooking and cleaning and doing things you've never really done before. And you're really, I can tell, doing a lot of research and searching and taking information and learning and trying things and applying it and making adjustments as needed. Speaks a lot to you. I thank you so much for what you're doing for her. Yeah. Can we leave this interview with you telling Careblazers a piece of advice, a recommendation, something that's you would recommend to Careblazers or was really helpful, or just any words of encouragement, anything you want to say to Careblazers who are struggling right now, who are facing challenges and might be watching this video?
well, yes, I can see from the um, make your care blazing 50% easier crowd that, and on the Facebook page, that some people are having a lot of struggles and a lot of challenges, and they're in a really bad place.
Mm-hmm.
And I, I just think that um, that what you have told them is just so valuable to try and get outside of themselves and to make the choice. I mean, obviously, people say inside of themselves, hey, what's up with this? This is not fair. Why did God do this to me? Here we were having a life and boom. So, but I think you need to listen to Dr. Natalie. She's going to tell you that you should choose to do this and you should love to do it because it's going to pass. It's just temporary. And sure, there's grief and hardship, and you got to get in it and feel it and move on from it. You're there, so your choice has already been made. So you might as well have a life. I mean, you don't want to have a miserable life, so you have to make it not a miserable situation.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And so for you, you're kind of very practical in your thinking. Like, if I'm here right now and I'm in this situation, like, why not try to make the best of it? Like, it's not something I want. It's not something that I wish. It's not something I enjoy. But since I'm here, what can I do about it? It's like taking that kind of approach.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
This is it. I mean, I don't want to really say, well, you have no choice. You've landed here and you better get busy.
Mm.
Because you've taught us we do have a choice. I mean, I could
Mhm.
get an RV and go to all the bluegrass festivals this season or something, but hey, this is my life. This is the channel that fate has shoved me down. And if I want to be miserable, um, I can be miserable, but I don't want to be miserable. I want to be happy. Like I say, I love life. I have so many things that I love to do. And um, I refuse to be unhappy. I'm going to
Mm,
make this into a joyful experience, as odd as that sounds, and take these things one at a time and come out the other end. I mean, there's going to be more life
mhm.
uh,
That's
after
really
this.
powerful stuff. That's really powerful, because this aspect of your life obviously isn't great, right? But there are other aspects of your life that are wonderful and bring you joy, and choosing to kind of focus on those things and know they're still there, and constantly reminding yourself like you are choosing to be here for your wife right now. It sounds like that's been really helpful for you.
You have been really helpful for me.
Thank you, Jan. I appreciate that. So thank you so much for taking your time, coming and sharing your story with Careblazers, and for just, again, doing what you do for your wife.
Thank you, Natalie.
You're welcome. Bye, Careblazers.